Okay, so this is the Philly Big Five. It's Pennsylvania Derby Day. Check out the individual postings for each of the races here in this sequence. It is comprises races 10 through 14, and it's on the Saturday card at Parks. The first leg is the Turf Monster. It's a Grade 3. It's the 10th race, run at 5 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. And this is a pretty interesting field. Jean Valjean has been a new horse since moving to the turf. He's run 3 really good races in a row. The question I have about him is the late fraction and getting some significant pressure, which he really hasn't faced beforehand. So Jean Valjean, I think, can factor in this race. I do wonder about him closing it out. Talented Man to me is very interesting. This is a horse who is effective on turf at this distance, and what I like about him more than anything, his late fraction is better than all the other front runners. So I think he can withstand any type of cavalry charge early, and I think he at 12 to 1 he offers some outstanding value, and I definitely like him in this spot. Super Quest is from Mark Casse, who's just been lights out lately at Woodbine and Saratoga. But this one tends to hang a little bit, and that's really my question more than anything else, particularly at the 5 furlong distance. And while I think he's certainly a competitor here, I will try to beat him at 5 to 2. I think that's a little prohibitive. To me, Allegan is the horse that makes the most sense here. This is a horse who likes 5 furlongs, is effective at Parks, and has the back class to tell me that with all the front runners up front here with a significant pace, that he can be coming late, benefit from it, and I like Allegan in this spot. Senbei, I can kind of go either way with. I think this is a horse that is, is definitely one of the ones here, but at 7 to 2, I haven't liked what I've seen from him, particularly his last race. But he certainly has the right type of setup, and he could factor here. But for my money, he's going to be more of an underneath candidate. Leg 2 is the Gallant Bob. It's the 11th race. It's a Grade 2, run at 6 furlongs for the 3-year-olds. And to me, this is a very short discussion. Ben Tornado just towers over this field, in my opinion. He's got to break better. That is one thing that he tends to be a little slow out of the gate, but I don't think it's going to matter here. And based upon his form from Gulfstream, he's a dominant sprinter. They've tried him at 2 turns with some limited success. He did have a nice third behind Forever Young and Bookham Dano, who both came back with, who ran some nice races. So that was definitely a significant race. He's come back from Dubai. His first effort was wasn't bad, but I thought it was one that showed me that he just kind of needed a race to shake the rust off. He was getting it in gear late, and I think he'll be primed and ready for a big race here. Ben Tornado, to me, towers over this field, but you're looking for a couple others. Awesome Ruta in particular, with the route to sprint angle, I like the most. He was on the Derby Trail for a little while and didn't have much success. He was kind of this year's version of Il Miracolo, wondering what he was doing in these races. But cutting back, I think, is going to make a lot of sense for this horse. And he does have some back class that has shown some ability. He should be prominent in this race, I think. In a 10 to 1, I think you're getting a really good price. Practically Dark likes the track, likes the distance. I didn't like his last race terribly much, but he's certainly eligible to rebound. And when some of the other early horses are backing up, he's likely to come up and get into the money. The Maximus Meridius, I think he can factor in this race. But he's another one who was on the Derby Trail for a little while, and he certainly has some ability. But I just kind of like others better, and I haven't liked. He doesn't seem to have taken that step forward that you want to see. So while I think he can factor in this race at 5 to 1, I think it's a little prohibitive here. Bucarino, I'll just mention, he ran a great race last time, without a doubt. But I think it was whether or not he can come back and run that again. That's what I wonder about more than anything else. I think he is due for a regression, and so I'm going to try to beat him. And I think you say try to beat him, but I think Ben Tornado is definitely the horse to beat here. and he's to me a very logical single. Leg 3 is the Catillon. It's a great one, the 12th race on the card. It's run at a mile and a 16th for 3-year-old fillies. And what do you have to say about Torpedo Anna? The Grizzly Bear is here. Coming back against the girls this time. She ran just a monster Travers. And that was really a shame that she couldn't get it done. But that was just an outstanding effort. And I think the only thing you have to worry about here is whether or not the long campaign takes something out of her. And you've got the Breeders' Cup coming up, which certainly they want to run an optimum race here. So you have a couple of questions here. But is there anybody in here that can really beat her? And that's the question. Power Squeeze would be the logical second choice. But the only horse to beat Power Squeeze in the last 8, who? Torpedo Anna. And in those 2 races, Power Squeeze hasn't been terribly effective. And I think it has to do more than anything else with tactically, Power Squeeze is going to be a little farther back than Torpedo Anna will. And should be able to Torpedo Anna should be able to be right there. And it's going to be awful tough to stop once she gets to the lead. Gunsong should be an early pace presence. But I don't see Gunsong having the top end to take down Torpedo Anna. Sidamar is a Bill Mott, and that's really the only reason I'm keeping this horse on the race. In the race, this one has shown some incremental improvement, but not enough to get really excited about. I thought the last race against Power Squeeze was a really nice effort. I just wonder if she's going to come back to that. Again, Bill Mott, big stakes day, don't want to knock her. But to beat Torpedo Anna, I don't think so. So to me, I'm not going to try to beat the Grizzly Bear. Logical single here. Leg 4 is the Pennsylvania Derby. This is the featured race on the card, I'd have to say, along with the Catillon. It's the 13th race. It's a grade 1, run at a mile and an 1/8 for 3-year-olds. And this one is a little trickier than the ones prior. Looking at this race, you look at all the early speed, and certainly Dragoon Guard is the one that they're going to have to catch. But you look back at Dragoon Guard's record. Has he really run against that much? Not really. And this is a step up in class, and he's going to have some pressure on the front end. Granted, Lonesome Boy and Who's the King, they're not good enough, and I think they're cheap speed, but it may be enough to provide a little bit of pressure where Dragoon Guard's got to run a little bit more. And in the prior races for Dragoon Guard, he's just been able to get on the lead, and nobody's gone to get him, and he's just gained confidence, and boom, he's gone. Well, when you got a horse like Just Step On It in here, now, I don't think he's good enough to win, but he is a hard knocker. His last race, he was awful game, and I think he's going to put a lot of pressure on Dragoon Guard, and I think he can withstand any type of pace scenario that even if it gets a little quick, I think Just Step On It can hang in there underneath, not to win it. And at 15-1, you're getting some nice value to maybe close out the try. Doc Sullivan is one that makes sense in here, I think. He's a horse running, will run a little bit off the pace. I wonder about the top end, though. That's really the question I have more than anything else, particularly when you consider the classier horses in here, Stronghold, Unmatched Wisdom, and Seize the Gray. So I think Doc Sullivan can certainly fit in this group, but I like more for under 12-1. Good value to fill out the try and the exacta if you want. Seize the Gray, to me, is a logical choice in this race. To me, he's going to be the second choice. If he can come back to his form in the Preakness, then I think they're all playing for second. He doesn't need to lead. We've seen him come off the pace, as in the Pat Day Mile. Really, the issue with Seize the Gray after his last 3. The coach wanted to put him in the Travers, but he kind of fizzled a bit in the Jim Dandy, and it indicated, as to most of us with the coach, his horses need a break a lot of times, and he got one. So I think firing fresh, Seize the Gray, makes an awful lot of sense in here, and he would be my second choice. Stronghold, I'll just talk about. The 11 hole, I think, is going to be a big problem. This is a nice horse. I like Stronghold, but, you just have to note that he doesn't win. Uh, he runs his race every time. He's a very consistent performer, and I like him. But the 11 hole certainly is problematic, and I just wonder if he can has the top end to get it done, even in this field. So he's certainly one to use. But at 5-2, I find it very difficult to use him. Timeout is another one for Bill Mott, who's incrementally improved, but not enough to tell you that he's got that big race in him to take this one down. Can he get underneath in this race? Sure, and he will run as all Bill Motts do on big stakes days. He'll run the best he possibly can. I just don't think it's good enough. Underneath in the exotics, to me, would be the extent of my interest. I'm going with Unmatched Wisdom here. Uh, Certainly, Chad Brown has been high on this horse. And the Travers, he didn't really do much running at all. You have to wonder if maybe it was just a little too much too soon. I'm not sure. But he really hadn't faced that kind of competition before. But when Chad Brown's high on a horse, you have to believe that he'll regroup. And this is a softer field. And I think at 8-1, you just is an absolute steal. So to me, Unmatched Wisdom, who does not need the lead. Let's be clear about that. He can rate. And I think with a stalking trip just off Dragoon Garden, some of the other early pace, he should be sitting right there. And I like Unmatched Wisdom in this spot for the Pennsylvania Derby. The final race of the Philly Big Five is the Parks Sprint Stakes. It's ungraded at 100,000. It's run at 6.5 furlongs for 4-year-olds and up. And as we know in these sprints, that extra half panel really can make a difference. We take a look at this field, and of the early runners, one of the things I noted about Super Chow, who is the lukewarm favorite at 7-2, when the fractions are moderate or relatively soft, you could say, that's where he's at his best. He can get on the lead, control things, and walk home. Well, when he's had some pressure, he hasn't necessarily been one who can withstand it. And I think Twisted Ride is certainly going to offer a lot of pressure. Twisted Ride's got back class. He's coming off 2 Grade 1 efforts. This is certainly class relief. And I think the 6.5 furlongs shouldn't be a problem. And I think he's got that added stamina to hang out in this race. And he would be my second choice in this race. My buddy B ran a really nice race in the state rep last time, but he does regress off of his better efforts, and I think that might be the case here. And he does have some significant pressure, which he got some from Recruiter last time, and I just think it was more my buddy B freaked, and he ran a big race. I just think that this is the time you want to try to beat him, and so we will here. Of the horses in this race, I like Recruiter. Now, it's hard to get real excited about a horse who was second all the way around the track in the state rep as he was to my buddy B. But one thing I did note was his fractions, late fraction, is getting better with every race and not compromising his early speed. And that to me is a horse who's improving. I really like this horse for the progression. And my buddy B was better that day, but he won't be today, I don't think. And sitting just off Twisted Ride, who might be a little vulnerable coming off a couple of Grade 1s, and Super Chow for the reasons stated. I think Recruiter sits right there, and he's in really good shape to take this one down. Of the others, Gordian Knot, certainly this is his distance, this is his track. He ran a nice race last time, and sitting off the pace, I think he can certainly factor in this race. I do wonder if he has the top end necessarily to take it down. But I like him in this spot, and I think his 6-1, he offers some nice value. Probably more likely for under, but because we've got short legs in a couple of the other races, we can spread here, and I think Gordian Knot is one you certainly want to include. Top Gunner to me is, I can go either way with. Brad Cox is 35% first off the claim, but that's just it. This horse has been claimed as low as 35,000. He was claimed for 62.5. And he's 7 years old, and he's in the 11 hole. There's a lot of things working against him. You know Flavian Pratt's going to give him the ride, and I'm not going to doubt Brad Cox, but I just find it at 4-1, he seems a little prohibitive to me, and I certainly want to find better value, and that's why we're going with Recruiter. But Top Gunner, certainly one you can use liberally. So we look at our ticket for the Big Five. In leg 1, race 10, we're going to go with 3, 5, and 6. We're going to single Ben Tornado in the sprint in the 11th race. In leg 3, the Gallant Bob rather. In leg 3, the Catillon, we're going to single for Torpedo Anna. Probably, I think Ben Tornado is the best bet of the day, but Torpedo Anna, I'm pretty sure, is going to run back to what we expect from her. And I think on class alone, she can win this race. So we're going to single, not going to try to beat her. And that allows us to spread a little bit in the Pennsylvania Derby. We'll go with 2, 7, 8, and 11. And then in the Park Sprint, we can spread even further. We can go with 2, 3, 5, 6, and 11. So that's a $60 ticket on a 50-cent base. With 2 singles, we can get a little bold with some of our other legs. And because it is a little on the chalky side, we don't have a lot of outlay, and it helps to maximize our ROI. So I hope this helps you with your own wagering strategy. I wish you the best of luck as always. Going to be a real fun card at Philly at Parks on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. And we're going to try to get a couple other postings for some of the other stakes races that aren't part of the sequence. So be on the lookout for those. I'll talk to you soon. And until then, be well.